Who was the Barsha family and how did they end up in tragedy? In this video, you will learn the complete history of the two brothers on a lifelong mission of revenge against each other. Enjoy. The Barsha family was a human family that hailed from Corellia, a planet located in the core worlds of the galaxy. During the Clone Wars, they were a powerful and wealthy family that owned a Corellian manufacturing company. When the Clone Wars ended, their family was set to secure a contract in the manufacturing of Star Destroyers of the Galactic Empire, which would have made them one of the most powerful companies on Corellia. Jalen Vrax was born as Jalen Barsha on Corellia shortly before the start of the Clone Wars. Jalen Barsha's father was a wealthy shipping magnate, and Jalen was his favorite son, set to inherit the family business after he came of age and completed his education. Jalen's father had another, illegitimate son named Slero. Though Jalen did not particularly like Slero, he constantly reminded him of his bastard status, and the family made sure he had a place at the table. From Slero Barsha's perspective, this amounted to table scraps, but the Barsha family considered this to be better than starvation. Slero, however, never got over it. Slero had joined the Galactic Empire as a member of the ISB, and the Barsha family had controversial political sympathies during the Clone Wars. Slero reported this to his superiors, and the Empire proceeded to seize the Barsha family's assets, making Jalen heir apparent to nothing. But Slero was not done. While most of the Trade Federation battle droids that fought for the Confederacy of Independent Systems during the Clone Wars were dismantled and melted down for scrap, Slero managed to get his hands on a fully functional BX series droid commando, JX394ND5777, and Slero reprogrammed the droid to serve as an assassin droid. Slero sent this droid to kill every last Barsha. The droid killed Jalen's parents and siblings, but Jalen was able to subdue him. Rechristening him as ND5, Jalen fitted the droid with a restraining bolt to ensure the droid would follow Jalen's commands, not Slero's. Blaming Slero for the loss of his birthright, Jalen vowed revenge on his brother. Slero's successful destruction of his own family gave him the title of Director in the Imperial ISB. With a reprogrammed assassin droid as his personal enforcer and nothing much left to lose, Jalen reinvented himself as a scoundrel named Jalen Vrax. Entering an underworld where the Black Sun, Hutt Clan, Pike Syndicate, Crimson Dawn, and the Clymora Syndicate were competing for dominance, Jalen decided to remain a freelancer rather than formally join any of the gangs. He would plan heists and set up smuggling rings for any crime boss who paid him enough credits. Jalen Vrax and ND5 eventually gained respect in the underworld. After Kira and the Crimson Dawn crime syndicate stole the carbonite-frozen Han Solo from Boba Fett, they held an auction to sell him to the highest bidder. Jalen was able to attend this auction as a special guest with ND5. Not long after the auction, a new crime syndicate known as the Zarek Besh quickly rose up through the ranks of the underworld. Jalen recognized its leader as his hated brother Slero. Jalen decided that the best form of revenge against Slero would be to steal his new criminal empire out from under him. Director Slero Barsha advanced through the ranks of the ISB, and following the Battle of Hoth, he was assigned to create a specialized division that would pose as an underworld syndicate to elicit a response from the rebellion, which was known to employ smugglers and criminals for its missions, and sent Captain Amaral Haldo to form an alliance with the criminal underworld to rebuild its supply chains during and after Operation Starlight. The ultimate goal of his division, which was given the name Zarek Besh, was to uncover the rebellion's location so Commander Zara and her hunter fleet and raider crew could destroy the divisions of its fleet and detain its leadership, since Sith warlord Darth Vader was looking for his son Jedi Commander Luke Skywalker. Slero Barsha assumed authority over the Zarek Besh as its crime lord. Within mere weeks, the syndicate started growing its influence and activities. Funded by millions of Imperial credits from the ISB's black budget, the Zarek Besh quickly began actively competing with larger and older ones such as Crimson Dawn, making Barsha one of the most notorious crime lords in the galaxy. He maintained a private resort named West Hill Palace on Canto Bight and secretly collected information on Imperial bases, installations, and call signs without his superiors' knowledge, collated with a codex he kept secure in his vault. In 3 ABY, the Syndicate War erupted as part of Crimson Dawn's leader, Lady Kira's plan to destroy the Sith. Due to his role as the supposed leader of a major syndicate, Barsha was in a unique position to observe the happenings in the underworld from within. He was summoned to Coruscant by Galactic Emperor Sheev Palpatine to report on the cause of the conflict. Barsha explained the crime lords believed Palpatine was seeking a replacement criminal syndicate for the Hutt clan to form an alliance with the Empire, after their council's unexpected betrayal when they attacked Vader's flagship when he tried to take his son's friend Captain Han Solo from Crimson Dawn, and understood the mastermind behind the rumored to be Crimson Dawn. At some point during that year, Barsha captured a rebel agent, Asara Dine, whom he assumed to be a spy for one of the syndicates attempting to infiltrate his palace. Inviting representatives of the Pike Syndicate, Crimson Dawn, and the Hutt clan to his palace, he opened that while the Galactic Civil War was going on, the underworld stood to profit before accusing his guests of sending a spy into his own home. After showing everyone at the table a hologram of Dine, the Pike Syndicate representative refuted the accusation as he reminded the Zarek Besh has been raiding the Pike Syndicate spice lanes, to which the Hutt enforcer argued the spice lanes belonged to the Hutt cartel. Barsha then recalled an anecdote from his childhood, where Jalen frequently starved him at dinner and remarked that the weequays seemed to be resembling his behavior. The Pike representative failed to understand the point of his anecdote, while the Crimson Dawn agent criticized Barsha for what seemed to be like a failed attempt at a partnership. However, the crime lord calmly made it clear that he was starving for power before his enforcers executed his guests. The West Hill Palace was later raided by Cantobite criminal Kay Vess. Kay Vess was hired by the Rebel Alliance undercover operative Denian as part of a crew they were putting together to rescue Asara Dine from Barsha's mansion under the pretext of an inter-syndicate vendetta robbery. Kay Vess successfully broke into one of Barsha's vaults, but after realizing that there was no credits inside, she demanded the payment she was promised up front. The now rescued Dine and Agent Denian tried to reason with her, but Kay Vess threatened them with her blaster, and in response, Denian stunned her and escaped, leaving her for Barsha and the Zarek Besh to find. Finding Dane gone and Vess alone in the vault, Barsha interrogated her on her rebel contact, but Vess escaped with help of her pet Merkwl Nyx, trapping Barsha in the same vault he was holding Dine in. Despite being hunted by the West Hill security, Kay Vess reached Barsha's private hangar and stole his EML 850 light freighter, the Trailblazer, escaping Cantonica. Infuriated by Dan and Vess's escape and the loss of his personal shuttle, Barsha used his authority as a leader of the Zarek Besh to place a death mark on Kay Vess. Sliro Barsha also hired the assassin Vale Tormund to personally track down Kay Vess and either bring her in cold or warm. Tormund managed to locate Vess on the moon Toshara, where the Trailblazer crashed, but she was ambushed by ND5, who took Vess away. Barsha was greatly disappointed with Tormund's failure and threatened to discard her if she couldn't do her job. Jalen Vrax set about finding the manpower to put his plan into action. He hired Master Slicer Rico Vess, Kay's mother, for her code-breaking skills. He then learned that Rico's daughter, Kay, had survived an unsuccessful attempt to rob Sliro's vault in the West Hill Palace. After saving Kay from Vale Tormund hired by Sliro, Jalen proposed that Kay work for him in a second attempt at robbing the vault. Jalen tells her that the vault contains 157 million credits worth of unmarked Beskar ingots. While Kay has a price on her head, her share of the loot would be enough to buy her freedom. Kay accepted the deal, and Vess and ND5 set out to recruit the remaining members of the crew, with ND5 acting as a watchdog for Jalen Vrax. Kay Vess chose to recruit her childhood friend from Cantobite, Gadik Obaz, as the crew's droidsmith, and was not informed that Vrax intended to recruit her mother, Rico Vess, as well. ND5 advised Vess that they should first go to Kijimi in order to recruit Paroko, but allowed her to make the choice of where they would go first. During one of these missions, Vess and Tormund worked together temporarily to expose one of Barsha's spies planted in Jabba the Hutt's palace on Tatooine. Upon learning of the spy's execution, Barsha came to Tatooine to meet with Major Dormo Bib Fortuna, who Jabba dispatched as his steed. Director Barsha explained that he intended for the spy to be discovered to understand the weaknesses of Jabba's security based on how long it would take to find him. Barsha then proposed a deal. Bib Fortuna would give him all the information he had on Kay Vess, and Barsha would help him grow his influence to succeed Jabba as the head of his empire. When ND5 and K-Vest recruited all members for the heist, including rebel soldier Ashara Dayan, the crew prepped on Akiva, meeting with Jalen there. K-Vest encountered Lando Calrissian in the Rebel Alliance on Akiva, this changing her point of view on the galaxy. K-Vest told Jalen Vrax about how she does not want to work with her mother, due to how she abandoned her at the age of 12. Jalen responded that his family was torn apart because of the Empire, with ND5 being the one keeping him alive, unlike the rest of the family, and how K-Vest needs to put her past behind her. ND5 informed K-Vest that Rico had secured the Lambda-class shuttle, and has sent the coordinates for a space station with security codes to Sliro's mansion inside. Director Sliro Barsha traveled to the ISB space station where he contacted Vale again. The assassin complained that her simple mission to bring in K-Vest had become a lot more complicated, with her death mark becoming involved in something much bigger. But when Tormund declared her intention to abandon the mission, Barsha simply stated that if she chose to do that, he would have to recoup his losses by taking over the fortune she had stashed on Neamos, forcing Vale to comply. When the conversation was over, Barsha began to admire the collection of weapons he had on his wall. Just then, Darth Vader arrived at the facility to personally announce the Emperor Palpatine's displeasure with the Zarek Besh. Zarek Besh's failure to uncover any significant rebel networks despite the massive resources they collected from the Empire to do so made Vader and the Emperor displeased. Barsha tried to argue that the Syndicate successfully infiltrated the underworld and done more in weeks than the entire Imperial military failed to do during the Galactic Civil War, reminding how their mindless show of force allowed the rebel fleet to escape Hoth. Losing his patience with Director Barsha posturing, Vader shattered the glass in Barsha's office and pointed all the pieces at him, giving him one last chance to find the rebels, for the Emperor was waiting. Unbeknownst to both, K-Vest had infiltrated the facility to steal Barsha's master key and had witnessed the confrontation, discovering Barsha's true allegiance. Upon returning to Jalen Vrax, Kay and Rico Vest confronted him before the rest of the crew, forcing him to admit that he knew Barsha was an Imperial, but the money that they would be stealing from him was all they needed to cover the increased risk. With the codes, they were all back on Canto Bight, and ND5 and Vrax planned to pick up the crew after they completed the heist. When K-Vest asked ND5 if he gets a cut, he revealed that due to how he is just a droid with a restraining bolt, he is just property of Jalen Vrax, and he does not get any cut from the job. Though K-Vest suggested Gadik's freedom spike, ND5 soon denied it, threatening to blast her if she chooses to deviate. They began the assault on the Canto Casino, and it ended up being successful. The crew were successfully picked up by the Trailblazer and took off Cantonica. After Rico Vest opened the container, it was revealed that inside contained Sliro's databank of information on Imperial clearance codes, operating planning, base schematics, and his personal collection of blackmail on other Imperial officers. Ashara deemed this to be better, serving the Rebel Alliance in a good cause. However, Jalen Vrax then commanded ND5 to stun Asara and aim at the rest of the crew. It was revealed that Vrax has always planned to take over the Empire-controlled Zarek Besh by giving Asara's rebel network in return for the valuable information to convince the Empire and replacing Sliro Barsha for him. Though Jalen offered K-Vest a clean state, Vest denied it after acknowledging that Asara would be captured, pulling out her blaster, which was interrupted by Rico Vest. After Rico convinced K to give her the blaster, Jalen then forced ND5 to stun K. Together with Vrax, ND5 would then be brought to the Imperial Star Destroyer Revelator. Director Sliro Barsha was present on the Star Destroyer Revelator, much to his indignation. As he was about to enter the turbolift that would take him to the bridge, an approaching stormtrooper, secretly K-Vest in disguise, told of one of his escorts that he was relieved. An impatient Barsha complied with Vest's deception and dismissed the other stormtrooper, allowing Vest to join him. Jalen had no idea that K-Vest escaped custody and was on the Revelator. Upon arriving on the bridge, Barsha was greeted by a hologram of Darth Vader, who was aware he suffered a security breach. The ISB director tried to play it off as a personal matter, but Darth Vader expressed his displeasure that he permitted the theft of sensitive Imperial intelligence, thus putting his usefulness to the Emperor at an end. Barsha soon turned around to see Jalen Vrax, ND5, and a captive Sara Dane standing behind him as Vader told Vrax that the Empire had accepted his terms. As the Revelator jumped to hyperspace to the coordinates of a Kievan rebel base Vrax provided, a stunned Barsha asked his elder brother what terms Vader was referring to. Vrax answered that in exchange for both the Akivian rebels and the return of the Codex, he'd control Zarek Besh and would be free to do with Barsha as he pleased. Barsha nervously assumed Vrax informed Vader that they're brothers, but was still told it was an irrelevant detail. The ISB director condemned his brother for undermining him only to be reminded of his own betrayal of their family, to which he responded shamelessly and reminded that Vrax always made him feel inferior. Jalen Vrax then declared that for destroying their family's empire, he's going to take the one Barsha had built himself. Jalen then reintroduced Barsha to ND5, the droid originally meant to kill every last Barsha, whom the ISB director remarked had a new scar on his chest. Before Barsha could speak again, Vrax ordered ND5 to shoot him in the chest, ending the director's life. K-Vess revealed herself, pulling off her helmet and her intentions to save ND5 as she grew an attachment to the droid. K's confrontation failed, and Asara made a distraction, sending ND5 to hunt down Vess. ND5 was lured between power cores and was stunned after a power discharge. However, he recovered consciously to grip Vess, but was knocked out after Nyx delivered Vess her blaster, making her immediately blast ND5. However, Jalen Vrax arrived, holding Dean as hostage, with ND5 also recovering from the blast. Jalen Vrax informed the BX units were made tough, commanding ND5 to blast Vest. Then it was revealed that ND5's restraining bolt had been removed from the shot, allowing him to deny the command and kill Jalen Vrax once and for all. Free from Jalen's control, ND5 escaped with the rest of the crew on the Trailblazer. When ND5 spooled up the hyperdrive, K told him to cancel it. After K noticed that Asara attempted to contact the evacuation of rebel forces, K would send a distress beacon and let Asara contact the rebels on Akiva before the Revelator starts an orbital bombardment. After holding out against Imperial forces, Asara was able to contact with the rebels, who sent X-Wing starfighters as reinforcements. ND5 also informed that a syndicate friendly to K-Vess has answered the distress beacon. Together with the reinforcements, Vess and ND5 destroyed the Revelator's shield reactor, causing a chain explosion destroying the entire ship, and then they jumped to hyperspace. With ND5's restraining bolt removed and the death of Jalen Vrax, ND5 is no longer under anyone's control. Later, ND5 would meet K-Vess at the cockpit of the Trailblazer. After asking K-Vess where to go next, she would simply reply that they could go anywhere they wanted to. ND5, Nyx, and K-Vess traveled the galaxy all together. They had an encounter with Lando Calrissian on the casino cruiser the Morenia, and later encountered pirate Hondo Onaka. The Barsha's assassin droid's story is far from finished, but the Barsha's story is, however. So there you have it. That was the complete breakdown of the Barsha family, and every last Barsha was caught up by death, and ND5 lived on as a galactic outlaw. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe, as it took a very long time to make, and your support gives us motivation to keep making videos like this. Now may the Force be with you, always.